Assalamualaikum and very good morning to everyone. Dr. Rosli and all of my friends from Spada Cohort 10. Today we from Group 6 consisting of Mr. Sari Safwan, me myself and Mr. Muhammad Abu Bakar and Madam Musmah will continue our presentation on the effect of inflammation towards career development. So I would like to open our presentation today with a quote from Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio is a well-known and most important fund manager in Bridgewater House, which is the largest hedge fund company in the world today. So he is a critical thinker and actually gifted as a person who was born with the ability to think in a very sharp way. So according to him, Dalio said, cash is stress. Don't keep in cash because the most important thing that an individual can do is know how to diversify well. Diversify so you have that balance. He actually came out with this idea since 2 or 3 years ago, but lately, I mean this recent years, he started to talk about this more frequent. So what he said right now is not just make sense, but it looks clearer and has been proven right now. So before we go any further, we will dive into more detail into what is mean by the cash here. Cash, cash apparently is a liquid asset that can be in the form in our hand or in the bank or in fixed deposit um, uh, and maybe like bonds or something. So some of them are not actually cash, but they are very similar to liquid assets. So what is in liquid is trash. So now let's see the exact example of what is meant by cash is trash here. This chart shown a really clear view on how cash is absolutely trash. As we can see here, at 1913, the year that FED was created, which is Central Bank of US, 100 USD is still value 100 USD at that particular time. But you can see the 100 USD bill in 2019 became lower than 10 USD. So uh, it can simply mean by if 100 USD in 1913 can cover the cost of living for 1 month at a time, but can you imagine in 2019 100 USD maybe can only make a person can only survive for a few days. That's clearly proof how much cash is falling in terms of purchasing power years after year. So actually, this kind of situation may be even worse in 2021 and 2022 after pandemic COVID-19 hit the world. And most countries began printing their currencies for their sake of country survival. So we talk about after COVID-19, most countries started printing their currencies uh, more for the economic survival of their country to that they will cause this situation to actually to be more worse. So the increase of cash in the market will lead to increased inflation. purchasing power here will be greatly reduced. That can be proven in this chart shown here, which M2 money supply or the number of money prints that enter the market increases year after year. It is clearly clear that it has increased much higher in the last 10 years. You can see the figure here. For the last 10 years, we can see the spiking at this chart. So when inflation increase, the the price of goods will certainly going up. So the increase in goods as listed here, and we can see in all the mass media and so on, and at this time is not so strange. This is all because of the situation in is actually or apparently out of control. So so we can imagine if 1 years ago inflation make our cash value drop to 100%. So what will happen in the next 100 years in your opinion? Definitely, the answer is the same. So for the next presentation and further explanation on how inflation affect the unemployment, I would like to pass to the I would like to pass the baton to my next group member, who is Mr. Saresa Fuan, to continue our presentation. Thank you.
Alright, thank you, Mr. Hamad, on your good presentation on the introduction part of our presentation. So hopefully you guys understand what does inflation means, and I will continue on the topics as shown on the screen. So due to inflation, especially that happenings during the 21st century, there are several unprecedented events that will came out as factors that influencing an individual career development. As listed here, the first one is global unemployment, corporate downsizing, the miss of social contracts, dual careers, work from home, intertwining of work and family roles, many job shifts, need for lifelong learning. But however, due to inflation, I will focusing on the global unemployment, which has direct effect due to inflation. But before that, I would also like to discuss with you about the effect of career and human health. Here, 1989 have shown that high level of career uncertainty and occupational dissatisfaction are positively correlated with high levels of psychological and physical distress, whereas Hare, Kreml and Niles 2004 also shows that high levels of unemployment are associated with increased rates of chemical dependency, interpersonal violence, suicide, criminal activity, and admission to psychiatric facilities. So it shows that the unemployment of an individual throughout their lifespan could affect their health. There are also the positive sides of the inflation. It is expected that during inflation, due to the increased demand of consumer goods, the employment will be increased as well as the wages to overcome the production of the goods. So it is also important for the company, if they wanted to keep or maintain their top talent, they have to adjust their salaries or income of their employees that suit to the current situation. The relationship between inflation rate and unemployment rate can be shown by the Phillips curve, which has been introduced by an economist named A.W. Phillips in 1988. During the short run of inflation, the relationship between inflation and employment rate is inversely correlated as shown on the graph. But however, over the long run, the graph will be shifted upward towards the natural unemployment rate and creates a vertical line as shown on the graph. At this time, the unemployment does not affected by the growth of money or prices, but depends on the natural rate of unemployment, which can change over time due to changes in minimum wage laws, collective bargaining, unemployment insurance, job training programs, and changes in technology. Usually, the unemployment rate trends is toward a natural equilibrium, or known as the natural rate of unemployment. So there are three components of unemployment. The first one is frictional unemployment and structural unemployment. This first two is under the natural rate of unemployment. And the last component is cyclical unemployment, which results when there are fewer jobs than there are members of the labor force. So this cyclical unemployment can be overcome through monetary policy by the government. So that's all for my part. Thank you. Please welcome Puan Rosma to continue your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Sare, for your early presentation. I want to continue about my presentation. When we refer the table, so the main issue in the economic development of a country are employment and the unemployment rate. Okay, a country is said to have sustainable growth if it employment rate is low. On the other hand, if the unemployment rate is high, it means a waste of human resources. So the occurrence of inflation has to do with unemployment because companies cannot afford to pay workers. However, this phenomenon need to be balanced so that there are no problem related to career development. So when we looking at the table, looking at the field of basic employment in Malaysia, the field that is most in high demand in the future in the field of engineering. And the next is marketing, information, technology, human resources, and sales are based on economic graph. While the area of employment that will be the focus of the future are civil computing, engineering, culture and humanities, data, product development, sales, software, and marketing. Therefore, to prevent inflation, the product of an educated workforce must be balanced so that there is no unemployment in the field of work. This situation occurs when the field of work does not match with the education process. Okay, when we look at the issue of employment, incompatibility, and educational inflation, in this study concerned by Zulkifli et al. 2010, show that improvement human capital investment doesn't just add up the number of employed among those who educated, but it also causes it to happen open job mismatch. The root cause this phenomenon occur can also be caused by improving new hiring standard. So this described from the result of the implication of the unemployment rate, which is consistently high among job seeker, high school graduate, even at the level with respect job vacancy were found to be excessive. Okay, by Zulkifli and Ishaq 2008. Okay, this issue becomes especially important in the labor market condition that show in increase in the number of employed among who are educated, and also increase in duration the time it takes for a new job seeker to get a job. Okay, by Rubiah et al. 2004 and Zulkifli and Ishaq 2008. Okay, according to human resource capital theory, Becker 1964, education has a positive relationship with income of or wage. Investment in education can increase productivity, and add-ons it can increase income. When an employer accept a job with a qualification requirement that is a qualification process, this will lead to education inflation by Zulkifli Osman. Okay. Okay, in the conclusion, the effect of inflation to career development, the factor that influence a person's career advancement in a tense economic situation is company situation that have a significant influence on a employer career. Employers can have all the prerequisite and assumption for promotion, but the condition in the company do not allow for career development. The reason for this situation may be different. For example, a person who is qualified and well evaluate about the job position required, or the economic situation of the company or market, such as inflation. In this situation, it is almost impossible to achieve promotion. Looking at the inflation rate is expected to register to 1% on 2022 following the economic outlook better. Thus, the unemployment rate is expected decrease and recorded useful energy, which is 4% by 2022. Okay, in the conclusion, the more high educational entertainment of an individual, then the ability of in the individual were also consider high, and finally offer with a well-paying job high according to his educational entertainment. So thank you from our group. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.